Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
I quit drinking, you know. When I was growing up, it was either you are a fucking alkie or you aren't. And then it isn't. There's all of this. So we'll say this right here is full-on addiction. This is literally sucking behind a donut shop, 11:30 in the morning on a Tuesday for a fucking 12-pack. Not even a case. Like, my drinking got like all the way. I realized I couldn't have it in the house. That's what it was. I just like consumed it. And then I got all the way to like right here. I mean, I wasn't sucking, but the donut shop was over the horizon. The donut shop was in.
Good morning. It's Friday, Parenting Friday, October the 24th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and the collapse of parenting. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Thank you. Now, Varney and Company.
Welcome back. Well, the melt up continues this morning on a Friday on Wall Street. We are about 30 minutes away from the opening bell on Wall Street, and the markets are at the highs of the morning. Dow Industrial's up 189. The Nasdaq up 200 points right now after the better-than-expected Consumer Price Index for September. I want to thank this all-star panel this morning, John Lonsky and Chris Johnson. Great to be with you today, guys. Thank you. And don't miss my exclusive reporting from the Permian Basin next week. We will have a preview this Sunday on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox News. And then the rest, Mornings with Maria, next week. Have a great day, everybody. We're sending it right over to Varney and Company. Stu, take it away.
All right, good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. The government may be shut down. We are indeed starved of economic data, but we do have the inflation numbers. And here we go. Last month, consumer prices went up 0.3%. That's a little cooler than expected. In the last 12 months, that consumer price index has gone up exactly 3%. I'm calling this a benign inflation report. It should mean that the Fed will definitely drop rates a quarter point next week. We'll see. But here's the market's reaction. Investors like this. Futures pointed higher before the inflation numbers came out. They're higher still now. Dow up close to 200 points. The Nasdaq is up 201 points. That's green on your screen. The interest rates, we're moving down. The yield on the 10-year Treasury dropped just below 4%. The yield on the 2-year Treasury just below 3.5%. Bitcoin, not much change there. You're looking at 111,300 per coin. Gold, still no solid rebound. It's at $4,095 an ounce this morning. Silver looking at $48, $47.94. Politics. The president is not happy with Canada. The government of Ontario ran an ad featuring Ronald Reagan speaking out against tariffs. Trump thinks they're trying to interfere with the Supreme Court's hearing of the tariff case. He has angrily ended all trade negotiations with Canada. Meanwhile, it is day 24 of the shutdown. The Democrats voted not to pay essential workers. The FAA has warned of trouble at the airports as air traffic controllers go unpaid. So far today, just so far, 799 delays, 172 cancellations. 11 days to the New York mayoral election. The current mayor, Eric Adams, is warning that a Mandami win would make New York feel like Europe. He's referring to the impact of Islam on Western politics. Zoran Mandami, he is the likely winner in New York, and he is a Muslim. Who knew? The mafia is still doing business. We haven't heard much about them since John Gotti went to prison 30 years ago. But the famous mafia families have resurfaced in the sports betting scandal. They've been running a corrupt poker games with high-tech gadgetry that let them win every hand. They made millions. Friday, October the 24th, 2025, Varney and Company is about to begin.
And that was Stuart Varney. Nonprofit News Now, because we deserve better. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, an article from the American Thinker by Judd Dunning called Modern Conservatism Calls for a Philosophical Warrior Scholar.
Modern conservatism calls for a philosophical warrior scholar. True conservatism is philosophy in motion, not nostalgia. Conservatism is reason disciplined by gratitude, freedom guarded by order, and faith translated into civic strength. Conservatism does not clutch the past. The conservative is the custodian of permanent things, those enduring norms of human existence that Russell Kirk called the backbone of civilization. Conserving is remembering that truth is inherited, not invented. Image created using AI. Marcus Aurelius taught that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. From his stoicism flows every idea of ordered liberty. Self-governed citizens precede self-governed states. Aristotle refined this. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. Virtue is muscle memory. Western political architecture, parliaments, courts, and constitutions were built to make those private habits public. Edmund Burke warned that society is a contract between those who are living, those who are dead, and those who are to be born. He understood that liberty without lineage becomes license. James Madison echoed him in the Federalist Papers. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. Madison understood mankind's crooked timber. Conservatism accepts man as fallen but improvable, dangerous yet dignified. Law and virtue must co-govern him. Faith, the second column, anchors the first. C. S. Lewis described pride as the complete anti-God state of mind. Chesterton called tradition giving votes to our ancestors. Their point was identical. Humility is freedom's precondition. Civilizations that forget transcendence confuse appetite for rights. Proverbs says, "Better a patient man than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city." A republic survives on temperance, not tantrums. America's founders understood this symmetry. Alexander Hamilton wrote that energy in the executive is a leading character in the definition of good government. Yet he coupled energy with accountability. Power without virtue is chaos. Virtue without power is futility. The mature leader requires strength guided by conscience and desire moderated by law. Burke's men of intemperate minds cannot rule nor be ruled. Viktor Frankl offered the modern metaphysical corollary. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Meaning, not comfort, is man's first need. When politics degenerates into therapy, citizens become clients rather than creators. Societies that lose purpose breed grievance as their new religion. F. A. Hayek saw this rot in economics. The more the state plans, the more difficult planning becomes for the individual. Command economies destroy wealth and will. Michael Novak deemed capitalism a moral, cultural, and political system. Moral markets reward work, risk, and service. Ayn Rand's fierce individualism. A creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve, not by the desire to beat others, reminds us that production is gratitude, not greed. Order and freedom, faith and enterprise, these are not museum pieces. They are living laws that modern leadership either honors or violates. Mature statesmen must translate them into action, protecting free and moral markets, defending borders without surrendering compassion, fostering innovation without idolizing novelty. Throughout new eras, these old measures remain valid tests. Aristotle's prudence in context remains the supreme political virtue. Whittaker Chambers saw ideological utopia's seduction and collapse. Man without God is a beast, and men governed by men without God are beasts led by beasts. His testimony was empirical. Every totalitarian state declares itself moral and ends by worshiping power. Conservatives recognize the dangers of bureaucracy masquerading as benevolence, redistribution disguised as compassion, and digital central planning. Decisions belong as close as possible to citizens. Tocqueville praised this science of association as democracy's mother discipline. Free men learn responsibility by governing something smaller than the state. When families, churches, and local guilds weaken, individuals turn upward for salvation. Bureaucrats replace priests and algorithms replace conscience. Culture is a nation's moral weather. T.S. Eliot mourned, "These fragments I have shored against my ruins." Yeats foresaw that the center cannot hold. Milton warned that the mind is its own place. Art predicts politics. Fragmented meaning precedes fragmented order. Civilizations sneering at beauty soon sneer at truth. Conservatives' tasks are aesthetic and ethical. Restore reverence through art, ritual, and education. The Republic begins in classrooms. Plato admonished that the price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. The warrior scholar eschews indifference. He studies politics to defend, not dominate. He knows Adam Smith. Self-command is not only a great virtue, but the keystone of all. He knows Dante. Man was not made to live as brutes, but to follow virtue and knowledge. He knows Burke. Liberty must be limited in order to be possessed. Conservatives know the digital age tempts us to reverse hierarchies, feelings above reason, entitlement above effort, identity above character. Yet truth remains stubborn. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, wrote Aurelius. A society addicted to resentment will embrace envy. Conversely, gratitude breeds stewardship. Renewal begins in thanks for inheritance, law, and the chance to build. This is why families and churches are vital moral capital engines. When ideology dissolves sex into construct, debt into policy, crime into victimhood, and excellence into oppression, conservatives must reassert reality. To make us love our country, Burke said, our country ought to be lovely. A nation dishonoring creation and families cannot remain lovely. The economy is also a moral realm. Hayek's rule of law, Novak's moral ecology, and Frankel's quest for meaning converge. Freedom demands discipline. Debt that devours future generations, subsidies that punish industry, and inflation that stealth taxes workers are moral failures. They trade stewardship for expedience. Conservatives insist that thrift, not stimulus, is the first kindness to the poor. International order begins with sovereignty. Energy in the executive, Hamilton reminded us, is a virtue when it defends independence and peace. Burke called this the cheap defense of nations. Diminished borders give way to diminished values. Patriotism is loyalty to the gift given. As Chesterton laughed, we men and women are all in the same boat upon a stormy sea. We owe to each other a terrible and tragic loyalty. Today's storm is global technocracy, the soft despotism of unelected consensus. The answer is love of home. These truths form the modern warrior scholar's armor. He conquers noise with silence, outrage with logic, and nihilism with faith. The final measure is gratitude. Frankel opined that when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. The conservative looks inward. He reforms before legislating. He governs by example before governing by law. He grasps that strength, excellence, faith, and family are civilizational prerequisites, not partisan possessions. Conservatism emphasizes realism over reaction. Human nature evolves slower than our machines. Conservative leadership requires modern tools and ancient timeless morals. Wise leaders reconcile executive energy with humility, strength with service, and ambition with gratitude. Wise leadership is statesmanship's standard. The warrior scholar's creed is summarized in 6 words: virtue, order, liberty, faith, family, gratitude. Civilizations adhering to them will stand as ideological empires fall. The love that moves the sun and the other stars, Dante wrote, still moves men of courage. The eternal task is to keep that love luminous through reason, reverence, and resolve. That is true modern conservatism, the oldest wisdom that is newly alive. Judd Dunning is the host of Unapologetic with Judd Dunning on CABT AM 790.
Thank you. And about the drug boats. So, unfortunately, President Trump is falling victim to a mentality or brainwash about the government that very many people in, or office holders in government, have fallen victim to. And that is the idea that government can do whatever it wants so long as what it wants to do is not specifically prohibited by law. That's wrong. That's the American people. The American people are free to do whatever they want as long as what they want to do is not specifically prohibited by law. The government is only allowed to do what it is authorized for it by law. And we know what it's authorized to do by looking in the Constitution. So, Donald Trump is then out destroying drug boats using military resources. He's not interdicting them with, say, the Coast Guard and then maybe destroying the boats after they've arrested the occupants, that kind of thing. No, he's using military resources to just sua sponte, destroy the boat and the people in it. And if we look in the Constitution, we see he's not authorized to do that. No president is authorized to do that. No president is authorized to go around the world and blow people up that he doesn't like. He's just not authorized to do that. So that's the difference between Saddam Hussein and leaders of the free world. Saddam Hussein's regime, the government could do whatever it wanted to do, and the people had to ask the government's permission to do things. And that's what's happening in our country today, where increasingly, instead of the people being free to do whatever it is that they want, they get to act sua sponte. It is the government that is increasingly getting to do whatever it wants. And the government doesn't want the American people interfering, so the government increasingly puts restrictions, unauthorized restrictions on the American people. And Donald Trump, or President Trump, is acting this way. It's a brainwash. It's something that the left has been doing for decades. Slowly but surely, perniciously, they have been acting as if the government has rights, and it has none. And it has also been perniciously acting as though the American people are the servant of the government. Also wrong. I can only hope that there's going to be somebody in President Trump's cabinet or his advisors that is going to see this, understand it, and explain it to the president so that he gets back on track. Now, I want to say personally, I like seeing these drug assholes get obliterated. I think it's absolutely fantastic psychologically. But from a legal standpoint, he can't do it. If he wants to, he needs to go and ask for a declaration of war against Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico. Then he can go ahead and destroy these drug boats. And until then, he needs to, and if the American people say no, then that's that. He has to go back to law enforcement. Go out and interdict the boats to the best of your ability, arrest the occupants, seize the property on board, and go from there. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, motivation.
Success is not a loud event. It's the work you do in the dark, when it's quiet, when nobody's watching, when there's no crowds, no one cheering you on. It's just you working on your craft. And in order to become the best version of you, in order to reach heights you have never reached, you got to put forth as much energy and as much effort as humanly possible.
It's like that quiet walk to the gym, like footsteps. Some empty-ass gym late at night, over and over and over. Or as I sit there studying other great people, and then comparing it with what I'm doing and looking at it, over and over and over. Doing 20 minutes of quiet meditation a day, over and over and over. It's a very quiet process. It's not this big rah-rah speech where you do this one thing and something big happens.
We look at the best of the best, and what we think is these people were gifted, and that's the myth that society and the media sells to us. Actually, what made the great ones was what they did every day, their daily routines.
Habits are the building blocks of our lives, not the goals or the grand schemes or the vision or the big idea. It's what you do every single day that matters more than anything. Just focus on getting the job done every single day, whether you feel like it or not.
What I do is I focus on maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things at a time, and then I just do it. And then I get that done, and then I do the next thing. And then I get that done, and then I do the next thing.
I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the smartest. But I will work hard. I will be up when my competitors sleep. I will be up when my enemy is curled up in bed. I will be up getting after it.
You got to get over your mind going, I can't do this, it's too hard and all that. You got to push yourself through when you
you feel exhausted and say, there's a second wind in me, I'm going to find it. But if you find yourself saying, I can't do something, I don't want to do something, but you know if you made yourself do it, you're going to be a better human being, then you must do it. Don't hesitate, do it immediately. Some people say, well, that's not a very safe life. That's not a very secure life. If you want security, go to prison. If you want freedom, this is how you live.
Average people won't understand you. They don't get it and never will. The sheep will never understand the mentality of winners.
Why are you so antisocial? Because I'm trying to get it. Every time I text you and invite you to go do something fun and cool, you always studying because I'm trying to get it.
If you want to win, folks, you got to stand up and you got to say, I'm so sick and tired of being average and ordinary.
If you make that shift, I'm going to win. We're going to play to win now. We're not playing to play. We're not playing to see how we do. Once you start getting some winning, you start changing. You talk different. You walk different. All of a sudden, this isn't the same damn human being. You can change you. You'd be surprised what a little winning would do. You'd be surprised how good you'd be if you just decide to win. Be number one in your office. Number one in your region.
The winners, they do whatever it takes to get the job done. They do it and do it and do it and do it until the job gets done. If you want to become somebody, do it. If you want to become financially independent, do it. Almost everybody can stay excited for 2 or 3 months. A few people can stay excited for 2 or 3 years. But a winner will stay excited forever.
The difference between winning and losing in life and everything, of being a great leader and not, wealthy and not, a big business and not, making a difference and not, is so small. What's the separator? They do exactly what everybody else does, and one more.
And that's a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. So here is a message from SAG-AFTRA and from a email. It says, we're pleased to share some very good news. The California Film Commission, working in partnership with Governor Newsom's office, has announced that 52 feature film projects have been approved under the newly expanded California Film and Television Tax Credit Program, representing more than $1 billion in state spending, $629 million in qualified wages, and generating an estimated 8,900 cast and crew jobs, etc., etc. Moment especially meaningful because you joined together in the campaign to modernize and expand this incentive programs. Let's see. With the program's annual funding now expanded to $750 million. So anyways, the point, the reason I'm going ahead and reading this is because Gavin Newsom is one of those tax the rich crowds, and part of the tax the rich crowd, and he always saying tax the rich, soak the rich. The richest people in the state of California are the production companies. And here is tax and spend Gavin Newsom giving a tax credit program worth more than $1 billion in state spending. So if you're a Democrat, you got to be asking yourself, why am I voting for Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom isn't doing me any good. I'm expecting that Gavin Newsom is going to tax the rich because that's where the money is going to be coming from in order to pay for the programs I want, like single-payer health care. It's going to be used to make sure that this planet and everybody on it doesn't go extinct by 2035 from global warming, and to house the homeless, among other things. But here he is giving a tax break to the very people he should be soaking. He should be giving extra taxes to. If Gavin Newsom's going to act like this, then you Democrats may as well elect a Republican. I mean, think about it. So, but not that I'm advocating that. You're a Democrat, you want to vote Democrat, okay. I understand that, I respect that. The question is, don't you have any better Democrats in the state of California than this? I mean, you've been waiting for single-payer health care for how long? 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, longer? And it's still not there. And this is the reason why. Because the people that you're voting for aren't as Democrat as you like to think they are. If there's rhinos, Republicans in name only, there must be DINOs, Democrats in name only. And I believe that the Governor Gavin Newsom, is exactly that, a DINO. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Victor Davis Hanson.
Government shutdowns occur when the out party has lost power in the House and the Senate. The Democratic Party is in a doom loop. All of these main issues, they're on the losing side. So they don't have the leadership and they don't have the votes. Why are they doing this? Why are the Democrats shutting down the government? How's it going to end? What's going to happen? America is going through a higher education transformation where students are realizing that what they want and need is a place that doesn't stifle their intellectual freedom. Standing out among the few graduate programs that value viewpoint diversity is Pepperdine's University School of Public Policy, where I've taught the last 2 years. Their Masters of Public Policy is both applied and practical, preparing the next generation of leaders to participate in government agencies, the business sector, and think tanks. Pursue your MPP at Pepperdine. Daily Signal listeners qualify for an automatic 50 to 75% tuition scholarship and can learn more at go.pepperdine.edu/Daily Signal. It's go.pepperdine.edu/Daily Signal. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. The government has now been shut down for the longest time in our 249th history of the Republic, except on one earlier occasion. So who's responsible? How's it going to end? What's going to happen? Ostensibly, government shutdowns occur when the out party has lost power in the House and the Senate, or at least they can't push through an agenda. So they feel that the only leverage they have, usually when they've lost the presidency and control of the Congress, is to not approve, and basically by that is not approve of any bills, that is go on a filibuster is what's a word for it. In this case, the Republicans do not have 60 votes in the Senate to override their refusal to vote on the budget, so to speak. Why are they doing this? Why are the Democrats shutting down the government when we have a history of these shutdowns? And if you go back and look at them, usually one thing happens. That is, initially, the party that's in the minority and has shut down the government says, well, they won't speak to us, or they don't want to negotiate, or they're spending too much money, and this is the only recourse we have. And that is a believable message, a persuasive message for a few days, but then certain things kick in, such as I didn't get my Social Security check, I didn't get my paycheck, the air traffic control system is slowing my flights down, and the system slowly starts to grind down. And at that magic point, people say, well, wait a minute. We had an election. You guys, whether Republicans or Democrats, lost. And now you're kind of poor losers, and you're saying you're losing in chess, so you want to overthrow the board and say, I'm going to shut it all down. And then public opinion starts to go against the people who shut down. I think we're at that point now where the Democrats are seeing a diminishing return on their investment of shutting the government down. Why did they do this? The historian Thucydides said for most disagreements, there is the pretext, the prophasis, and then there's the real cause, the idea. They say that they're shutting the government down because when they passed the Obamacare program, the Affordable Care Act, which, remember, was supposed to reduce everybody's health care. And, there's only about 25 million people now who are in need of these subsidies on Obamacare. Most people still get their private insurance, or they're on Medicare, or they're on Medicaid. But when this program did not prove to be affordable, as everybody predicted it wouldn't, when you bring a lot of people into the system that can't pay for it, and you require put these rules and regulations on the medical profession, something has to give, and that gift was cost. So then the Democrats came back and said, we need subsidies. And the Republicans said, well, you said it was going to be cheaper. Why would you need government multi-billion, hundreds of $billion subsidies? And so they said, well, we'll put a time limit on it. Well, that time limit expired or will expire, and they knew that, and they signed on to get us this far into the year by agreeing not to shut down. So now they say the official reason is the Republicans are not going to extend a subsidy for the affordable health care. The Republicans said it should be called the non-affordable health care. We told you it wouldn't work. Why do this? Let's rewrite the whole thing or get... So that's the pretext. But there's two other reasons. One, in the general chaos of things, they think it hurts the end party, in particular Donald Trump. In other words, they look at Trump and they say he's reduced crime. There is no such thing as illegal immigration anymore. He's addressing illegal aliens that are criminals, 500,000. He's pursuing them. He's deported many, many thousands of criminals. There's been 7 or 8 ceasefires abroad. He may bring peace to the Middle East. He's restored the military's shortfall in recruitment. There's 50,000. But so we don't really have an answer to him. But if we create chaos, if we fill the streets full of protesters, if we get violent, if we make everybody upset and not calm, and we think we're going to go into the public, the voter will go into a fetal position, say, make it all go away. In other words, shut down the government, cause general turmoil, maybe even lead us to a recession, and they will blame Trump. Trump did it, Trump did it, Trump did it. That's one reason. The other real reason that they're not telling us is that the Democratic Party is in a doom loop. In other words, on all of these main issues, defund the police, open borders, illegal immigration, the trans sports issue, what we saw abroad, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas versus Israel. They're on the losing side. And they do not have a charismatic Bill Clinton or Barack Obama to carry them through in a nationwide referendum on these unpopular votes. So they don't have the leadership and they don't have the votes. And so they're looking for something to do, as I said, to cause chaos. But more importantly, they have a reason why they don't have charismatic leaders, and they have a reason why they're unpopular, and that is the party has passed the establishment by. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of them are ossified, calcified dinosaurs. And a young group of Mondanis are running on issues that, while they may be popular in a particular jurisdiction or an East Coast liberal city, they have no residence nationwide. And they will be running for office in the midterms. They're going to be challenging incumbents like Chuck Schumer. And they can win in this neo-socialist, DEI, far-left, Green New Deal constituency. But the old guard is saying they will lose in a general election, just like McGovern did, and they will take us down for 20 years. So now what we have to do is we have to give in a little bit, because they're saying we're old fuddy-duddies at letting Trump, go to the races. He's successful. Can't they stop him? We'll stop him. So now we're going to shut down the government so they can tell to the base we're just as radical as you are. And who's the loser in the final analysis? The American people, because the Democratic Party, who shut the government down, is basically saying we're Samson and we've got a hand around each pillar and we're going to pull down the whole thing on top of you. This is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal.
And that was VDH, Victor Davis Hanson. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the collapse of parenting.
Part 2.
Solutions. Chapter 8. What matters? Which one of the following, measured when a child is 11 or 12 years of age, is the best predictor of health, wealth, and happiness 20 years later, when that child has become an adult, 31 or 32 years old? A. Emotional stability. B. Grade point average. C. Self-control. D. Openness to new ideas. E. Friendliness. The correct answer is C. Self-control. Until fairly recently, the answer to this question would have been a matter of opinion or guesswork. Different people had different theories of parenting and child development, each of which had a different scale of value for what characteristics might predict good outcomes. But in the mid to late 20th century, teams of researchers in North America and around the world embarked on long-term, longitudinal cohort studies in which children were recruited early in life and then followed throughout childhood, into adolescence, and into adulthood. Such studies, launched 20 or 30 or more years ago, have now borne fruit, allowing us to determine what characteristics of a child that you can influence best predict the child's health, wealth, and happiness as an adult. For many years now, researchers have been studying correlations between personality traits and outcomes, taking care to separate these outcomes from other factors such as IQ, household income, race, and ethnicity. When these correlations are studied over years and decades, when we consider how a trait possessed by a child at age 10 predicts that individual's health and wealth at, say, age 38, then we can begin to move from statistical correlation to causal inference. That's a fancy way of saying that we can move from saying that A and B are associated to saying that A caused B. We can start to say with some confidence what matters. We can begin to answer the question, what should we be doing as parents in order to improve the likelihood of good outcomes for our children? In one study, researchers looked at American adults nationwide who came from a wide range of backgrounds, affluent and low income, black and white and Asian and Hispanic. They recorded how much money they had earned in the past year, how happy they were, how much wealth they possessed overall, and how satisfied they were with their life. The researchers correlated those outcomes with personality traits and separately with intelligence. Not surprisingly, they found that intelligence predicts both income and wealth. People who are more intelligent earn more money and have a higher net worth, on average, compared with people of below average intelligence. But intelligence does not predict happiness. Smart people are not happier or unhappier, on average, compared with less intelligent people. Nor does intelligence predict life satisfaction. Smarter people might have more money compared with less smart people on average, but they are not any more satisfied with their lives overall. You might reasonably wonder whether any individual trait can predict happiness and wealth and life satisfaction. There is only one trait that does. It is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness comprises a constellation of traits including self-control, honesty, and reliability. Individuals who are more conscientious earn more money and save more money, even after researchers adjust for intelligence, race, ethnicity,
and education. Individuals who are more conscientious are also significantly happier than individuals who are less conscientious, and they are substantially more satisfied with their lives. Other studies have shown that conscientiousness predicts better health and longer life. People who are more conscientious are less likely to become obese, less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease, more likely to live longer and happier lives, and more likely to be satisfied with their life. Teenagers who are more conscientious are less likely subsequently to use drugs or alcohol and less likely to engage in risky sexual behaviors. Although it's true that more conscientious individuals enjoy higher socioeconomic status on average compared with less conscientious individuals, the benefit of conscientiousness with regard to health can't be attributed to socioeconomic status for two reasons. First, the researchers in all these studies controlled for socioeconomic status. Second, the magnitude of the health benefit of conscientiousness is more than 3 times the benefit associated with socioeconomic status. No other trait can pull off this hat trick. No other trait predicts significantly greater wealth and health and happiness among those who possess it compared with those who do not. In some ways, this is not a new insight. Nearly 300 years ago, in 1735, Benjamin Franklin wrote, "Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." Going to bed early, that is, deliberately abstaining from the temptations of the night, and getting up early, that is, resisting the temptation to sleep in late, are good measures of self-control. And self-control is the characteristic most emblematic of conscientiousness. We can update Franklin's maxim in 21st century English as follows. Exercising self-control in terms of when you go to sleep and when you wake up is associated with improved health, greater wealth, and greater academic achievement. And that's a true statement. But Franklin's version is catchier. When I ask parents whether their kids are on the right road, many respond by mentioning something about grades and or test scores. Parents often assume that if their kid is above average, as measured by grades and test scores, then their kid has an above average chance of achieving happiness and success. Conversely, if their kid is below average in academic achievement, many parents are frantically searching for an explanation and a remedy, perhaps medication for ADHD, etc. In other words, many parents act as if good grades and test scores are the best measures of achievement and the most reliable key to future happiness. But they are mistaken. If you want your child to be healthy and wealthy and wise, then your first priority should not be to boost your child's grades or test scores, but to teach your child to be conscientious, to be honest, to be reliable, to be self-controlled. Let's take a closer look at the data, starting with drugs and alcohol. Addiction to drugs and alcohol in adulthood can be measured. If Ted has been in drug rehab 3 times, and Ted tells you that he is still struggling with addiction, and Ted's friends agree that he is struggling, then it's a good bet that Ted has a problem. Grades and test scores at 11 years of age don't accurately predict whether that individual will grow up to be an alcoholic or a drug addict. The best predictor of whether your 11-year-old will grow up to have a problem with drugs or alcohol is conscientiousness. And the best single measure of conscientiousness is self-control. Researchers found that children who scored high on measures of self-control at 11 years of age were much less likely to report problems with substance abuse at 32 years of age, and their friends gave reports which confirmed the same trend. But kids who scored low on measures of self-control at 11 years of age were much more likely to have problems with substance abuse 2 decades later at 32 years of age. Again, some parents push back when I share this finding. If a child is an outstanding student or artist, a real prodigy, those parents often assume that their child's gifts will protect him or her from drug addiction. That's when I find that stories of real people are helpful. I sometimes mention Jim Morrison, lead singer for The Doors. Morrison was an outstanding student whose high school teachers were awed by the depth and breadth of his scholarship. And Morrison's artistic gifts as a composer and musician are beyond dispute. Morrison died in 1971, addicted to heroin, at 27 years of age. The same relationship holds for overall physical health. Kids who scored lowest on self-control at 11 years of age were most likely to be in poor physical health at 32 years of age. Likewise, kids who scored highest in self-control at 11 years of age were least likely to be in poor physical health at age 32. Let's talk about money. What factors at 11 years of age predict who's going to be earning the most money at age 32? Who's going to be in financial distress? Incidentally, those are two separate questions. How much money you earn is not an infallible predictor of whether you will be in financial distress. People earning $600,000 a year are somewhat less likely to be in financial distress compared with people earning $60,000 a year, but only somewhat. Regardless of income, it's often a struggle for people to live within their means. Once again, self-control, as measured in childhood, predicts outcomes with uncanny accuracy. Kids who had the most self-control at age 11 had the highest income and the best credit score, and were least likely to be struggling financially at age 32. Conversely, kids with the least self-control at age 11 were, at age 32, the most likely to be struggling financially and the least likely to have a good credit score. This information is important because you can help your child to become more conscientious, to be more honest, to be more trustworthy, to have better self-control. There are many things you can't change. You can't change the color of your child's eyes. You can't change how tall they will grow up to be. Many other parameters which influence long-term outcomes in these studies, such as household income, also are not easily changed. Likewise, some aspects of personality are harder to change than others. But there is good evidence that you can boost your kids' conscientiousness, including honesty and self-control, in a matter of weeks, without spending any money. How do you help an 8-year-old build self-control? You say, no dessert until you eat your vegetables. How do you help a teenager build self-control? You say, no video games until you've done all your homework and all your chores. As a family doctor, I have personally witnessed a child change from impulsive and out of control to self-controlled within 6 weeks without medication. All it takes is for the parents seriously to implement a simple program that builds self-control. You already know how to do this. No video games until the homework is done. No use of the cell phone until you do your chores. Let me give you a tip. If you want to become a more authoritative parent. If you are going to insist on your child being honest and self-controlled, then sit down with your child and say so. Every household has rules, most of which are unspoken. They are matters of habit. If you are going to change the rules, tell your child what you are doing and why. Parents who explicitly announce things are changing as of today, then enforce the new rules and are not cowed when their child yells, "You are totally ruining my life. I hate you," are consistently surprised by how dramatic the change is. Not in one day, not in 1 week. The first week can be really difficult, but after 6 weeks of consistent enforcement of the rules, your child will be more respectful of you and other adults, and everyone in the family will be enjoying life more. Your child's conscientiousness is not hardwired. It is not determined at birth. It is learned. You must teach it. One key point: if you are making a change, announcing new rules for the household starting today, then it's crucial that both parents be on the same page. The big announcement has to come from both parents and should come only after both parents have agreed on every item of substance. I have seen too many homes where one parent is the strict parent and the other is the permissive parent, creating a good cop, bad cop dynamic which the kids exploit to play one parent against the other. Don't let your kids see you arguing this topic. Work out any differences you have with your spouse or partner privately, out of earshot. Always present a united front to your kids. This can be crazy difficult for divorced parents who share custody, as I have seen. What is true of self-control is true of the other aspects of conscientiousness, such as honesty, responsibility, reliability, and industriousness. There is one truth you can't escape. You must teach by example. You can't expect your child to exercise self-control if you stay up past midnight streaming Netflix or surfing the web or scrolling through TikTok. You can't expect your child to be responsible if you don't keep your word. And you can't expect your child to be industrious if you yourself are looking for the easy way out. To become a better parent, you must become a better person. Let's look at another study in which researchers followed kids from birth through adulthood. In this study, the researchers enrolled every child born at local city hospitals, more than 17,000 babies in all. Then they followed those 17,000 plus babies at regular intervals right up through 38 years of age. Dr. James Heckman is a Nobel laureate in economics at the University of Chicago, who analyzed the data on that large cohort of 17,000 plus babies. Dr. Heckman writes, numerous instances can be cited of high IQ people who failed to achieve success in life because they lacked self-discipline, and low IQ people who succeeded by virtue of persistence, reliability, and self-discipline. Dr. Heckman's analysis of the cohort data has led him to conclude that grades and test scores are poor predictors of success in life because they measure only one skill, cognitive achievement. Far too much credit is given to cognitive skills. Character skills play pivotal roles. So, one of your most essential duties as a parent is to teach conscientiousness. Let's talk more seriously about how to do that. I find some parents who act as though their job is simply to teach their child to parrot the usual cliches. If at first you don't succeed, try again. If you try hard enough, your dream will come true. By the age of 6, most American kids know these slogans and can produce the right answers when requested. So the parent thinks the job is done. The job isn't even started. Teaching conscientiousness requires a different approach than teaching kids to be smart. Let's start with smart. What's the secret to raising smart kids? Stanford professor Carol Dweck thinks she knows the answer. Her secret in one sentence: never tell your child that he or she is a smart kid. Identity. Instead, praise them for working hard. Behavior. Many parents who have never heard of Carol Dweck have nevertheless heard of her famous experiment in which...
And that is the end of the first part of Chapter 8, What Matters, from The Collapse of Parenting by Leonard Sachs, MD, PhD, How We Hurt Our Kids When We Treat Them Like Grown-Ups. What he's really getting at here is that your kids will turn around and when you start acting like a normal parent. Act like a normal parent. Raise your kids the way normal parents do, and your child will turn around. As long as you raise your child the way liberals do, sovereign, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have a child with attitude, miles and miles of attitude. But you can save them by foregoing all the liberal baloney and raising them like a conservative, like a normal parent. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative of the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that determinism is a choice.